All right. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, anywhere you join us from. This is another session from Dobac community. And in Dobac, what we do here is adding value to people and also improving your business analysis experience. And today we have a fantastic, you know, expert, here. And just to backtrack a bit to give you context, what we've done so far. So we started this in January and we got feedback from our participant that we should do more of this. Hence, we have this coming up in February and we're starting with Anson. So we have Thea taking us through this journey. I'm going to give a brief introduction uh, for Thea because I know that some of you might know Thea, but definitely I still need to read introduction and a biography. Okay, so Thea is part evangelist for good business analysis, part crusader to drive positive change, a large scoop of encouragement, and a dash of showmanship for taste. She authored part of the IIBA's BABOK or BABOK 3.0 and worked as a consultant across almost every industry, from greeting cards to nuclear power, to mention a few. Thea currently serves as president of the Tampa Bay IIBA chapter and the founder of BA Force Multipliers. If you look at for BA Force Multipliers, when you go to our profile on LinkedIn, you can read more on that. I'm sure you want to be part of those multipliers as well. Now, she's the founder of Business Analysis Centers for Excellence Thought Leadership Group, bringing decades of hard-earned lessons to audiences around the world. Thea provides consulting, coaching, speaking, and training to audiences worldwide. Our goal is to lift our communities from where they are to who they want to become, empowering each person to do the same and making us all better for the good. So she's here to make us better for the good, right? And she has a fantastic topic she's discussing with us today, which I feel is crucial. And I know that most people, individuals, companies, you really need to know this technique. You need to understand how to go about it. So I want you to pay attention, get on your PC, listen attentively, don't miss any part of it. Okay. And I wish you all the best. So, Thea, you're welcome to the back. And I'm gonna hand over to you right now.
Okay. Can you see my screen? Well, it says an error has occurred. Let's try that again.
Okay.
Good now?
All right. All good.
Yes.
Okay. All right. Thank you very much, David. I am here to talk about the technique called the RACI technique. You may have heard of it. You may have used it. But in the almost 30 years of doing business analysis and project management, I've discovered that it needed some improvement. So I'm here to teach you what I've used it very successfully. And Vivian, you have your hand raised? Okay, I'll go on. Let's see. I've made some changes, and I want to teach you how to use it. This is going to be a 2-hour-long meeting, and so I want to set clear expectations that we're going to use every single minute of 2 hours. So I want you to get in, buckle up, and get ready. If you can, come on camera, because it helps me to see your facial expressions and things like that. If you have questions, you can drop them in the chat periodically. I will ask for questions. Because I have so much on my screen, I can't see the chat. So whenever I ask for questions, you are welcome to ask your questions at that time. I'm going to do a brief intro, and then we're going to go into the actual workshop of having some of y'all participate. Those of you who participate, I really need you to keep your microphone on and keep your camera on so that people can see the interaction. It's really important. Okay, let's move on. David did a fantastic introduction of me. This is who I am. If you'd like to reach out to me on LinkedIn, it's just Thea Soehren, and Soehren is spelled kind of oddly, but I'll show this to you at the end again. So this isn't just the RACI that you may have been taught in the past. I have used this in some of the hardest and most contentious meetings whenever people, they hated to go in and they were so delighted whenever they came out. This is not a magic bullet. This is an art that you've got to practice and learn to be able to do it well, but it works. And the reason it works is because it stops any ambiguity and it adds accountability. So you don't have to walk around and say to people, you promised you were going to do this. We don't want to do that ever again, right? So this technique adds that. So first thing I'm going to do is talk about accountability, clarity, and peace. Then I'm going to go into what was actually written in BABOK 3.0. Then I'm going to talk about the RACI as it was, what you're familiar with. Then I'll introduce the method that I use to bring accountability, clarity, and peace. Then we're going to practice. We're going to briefly touch on other RACI versions that you may or may not have heard about. And then I'm going to, if we have time at the end, I'm going to talk about personalities and appreciation, things that you just need to get a glimmer of today. And we can talk more about that in a later meeting. But you need to understand this to be able to really communicate with your stakeholders. So accountability, clarity, and peace. That is a tall order. This method, as I said, brings accountability, clarity, and peace because of the way it's designed. And if you work it the way I'm going to show you, you're going to be able to take this back to your own place of business or your volunteer event or your family meeting. Anything that you have a discussion with people, this is going to give you that ability. So have you ever had this at work? Let's talk about running a meeting. How many times have people left the meeting feeling unsure or puzzled or lost or confused? You know, it's like, I didn't volunteer for that. Or, you know, I thought they were going to do that. This eliminates all that problem. But what's worse than this is whenever you get this, whenever people are like, oh, no, you said you were going to do it. No, we don't have this problem ever again. I promise. This is what we want. We want everyone to have the same idea of what happened in the meeting and have the list ready to go whenever you're finished. This technique gives you this. Do I have any questions so far? Okay, let's move in. So this is what you saw in the BABOK 3.0. Let me back up. The BABOK 3.0 is a document, a body of knowledge that's written by the Business Analysis, the International Institute of Business Analysis, the IIBA. It's a worldwide organization. I think we have 40,000 members now. It's kind of the gold standard on business analysis. There are other organizations. This is the one I'm familiar with, so this is the one that I'm telling you about. 10 years ago, I had the privilege of getting to contribute the techniques chapter, the underlying competencies, and the glossary to this body of knowledge. It's about 520 pages. It's a huge book, but it is the book. Like the PMI has the PMBOK, this is our BOK, our body of knowledge. It is the book that you have to learn to be able to get a certification. The reason why you want to get a certification is because if you have that certification, it proves not only have you invested in yourself and in your career, but that you have the knowledge and understanding of the standards that we all share. So I can walk into a meeting with people from all over the world if they have this knowledge and we're all speaking the same language. We don't have to say, when you say that, what do you mean? Or make the assumption that we are speaking the same language and discover later we're not, and we just wasted our time. So let's move on. In the BABOK, in the techniques chapter, technique number 39 is called roles and permissions matrix. And this is really what it's talking about. This is the first one in that technique. It's just basically, the condition does apply or does not apply. That leaves a lot of ambiguity. And this is something that you're going to see whenever you're rolling out a new application to say this person sign on will allow them to do these things. It's very useful for that purpose, but that's not what we want to use. What we want to do is add more specificity, and we're going to use the responsible, accountable, consulted, and informed. You see this is the acronym for RACI. So this is the RACI that you probably knew. It's got an area for your tasks, and it's got an area for the participants. That's all we had in the BABOK. This is all we presented because 10 years ago, this is the best we could give, and we weren't allowed to do a whole lot more. Guys, there's 50 techniques in the BABOK. We didn't have a lot of space to give every explanation in detail. But I want you to understand what a RACI is. So the basics. The RACI matrix is designed for the responsible, accountable, consulted, and informed, but it's important that you really understand what these words mean in this context. Responsible. The R means these are the people who will actually do the work. I don't care what work it is, it's you will do the work. Accountable. This is the one person who will be sure this task is completed. And the reason why I have this in red is because accountable, there can only be one person per task. That keeps people from going, well, I thought they were going to do it. This is what I call the one person whose neck will be choked if it's not done. You know, this is the product owner for this task. You can have someone that's accountable that's also responsible. So it's an RA. But there's only one A per task. The third one is consulted. These are the people who want to have some say in some aspect of the event. Now, in our RACI diagram, we're going to ask you to also note exactly what they want to have a say in, because otherwise you're going to go, they wanted to have a say, but I don't remember which part they wanted. This way, you eliminate that. And then informed, I. After the event, this person wants to be told when some portion of the event has happened or some decision is made. Also, note specifically what they want to be informed about. Okay. Has anyone ever used a RACI? Can you raise your hand? I see a couple of hands. Okay, good. This is going to give you a refinement on that. So this is what you may have seen a RACI be used for at a project level. You'll notice here that you'll see the project tasks organized by project stages. And if you look down here in the project stage of define and product backlog, you'll see that the product owner is accountable as identified by the A. The business analyst is responsible. You'll see the R right here. The design director and CRM lead are to be consulted, and the financial lead and the design lead are to be informed. That's what all this means. But you'll notice that there's nothing here to tell you any specifics as to what they want to be consulted about or what they want to be informed about. It's still too ambiguous. And so at a project level, this may be acceptable. We're talking down at a meeting level. So for this matrix, there are 6 critical stages for you to understand. RACI can be used, again, at a project level or a meeting level. You can use this for any meeting, anywhere that there's decisions to be made or where tasks are to be completed. So let's talk about the planning and agenda. Before the meeting, you need to do these things. You need to identify your goal for the meeting, what's in scope and out of scope. You need to think about what your participants need to be told before the meeting to orient them to the situation and to get them laser focused on the goals of the meeting. And this may include details and information to set the stage, etc. So we're going to practice. This is really what we're here for. This is the scenario. We're going to role play, and I'm going to ask for volunteers in just a minute. I need one more volunteer. And for volunteers, I need you to be on camera with your microphones on once again. So this is the scenario. We, the volunteers, we're all in the same company, in the same department. The department outing has been planned for March 21st of this year. For each of us and our family members, we have 50 people total. The list has been confirmed and all waivers have been signed and returned to HR. We will meet on the date on March 21st at the office and be brought back to the office at the end of the day. We will depart and return to the employee parking lot. We're going to pull out at 9 a.m. and we will arrive back at 5 p.m. The signed contract and destination is Cowboy Ranch. It's a dude ranch. It's located 30 minutes away from the office. The Cowboy Ranch will provide the buildings, restrooms, activities with the horses and cowboys, but no food or games or anything else. The Cowboy Ranch is a large property. It's got a circle drive in the front of the main building, and there's shade in the circle drive. We have an unlimited budget, which I know this never happens, but for this meeting, it's happening, okay? We have an unlimited budget already approved and allocated. And there are no holidays between now and the date of the event. And the reason I added that last one is if you're planning something and you know there's holidays, you're going to have to think about, we only have this many days, you know, and be aware of that. And you're going to probably bring that up in your meeting as well. As you orient people to the focus of the meeting, a lot of people are visual thinkers. Also give them pictures. You know, they can see it in their mind this way. Give them pictures so that they can laser focus in on the event. Otherwise, it's just a bunch of words and they're not focused. So as you begin, you're going to define your goal of the meeting. The scope is what is included and what is out of scope for the meeting. And so this is how I do it. Goal for the meeting, department outing, Friday, March 21st, Friday. I have Friday in there twice, 9 to 5. Scope of the meeting, we are going to determine communication, transportation, games, food, and I'm going to leave it open for what else, because I want people in the meeting to bring, oh, you forgot this, or has anybody thought of this? I need that from them. Also, out of scope. The whole reason you do out of scope is to let people know what decisions have already been made so that we don't have to have that conversation during our meeting. Our meeting time is precious and we don't want to spend time there that we don't need to. So out of scope for this meeting, we already know there's 50 people. List is confirmed, participants waivers signed and received. The destination's been identified and paid. Event budget's been allocated. It's unlimited. The date and time has been established, and we're going to leave from and return to the office from the employee parking lot. So you create your racing. You create it in a shared location. You don't have to make it public yet, but create it in a shared location. And ideally, if you have a shared location like a Teams folder or a SharePoint folder that you can create a notification on it when people make updates, that's ideal. Because as people make updates to this, as they get a resolution, you want to see what is that update? Is what I expect. So I would encourage you to use that. The yellow highlights are things that I've added to the typical RACI. Again, goal, scope, in scope and out of scope. And then here for task, it used to be just task. I've added decisions. I want a way to note if there's decisions made in that meeting and who agreed to it. I also want to identify the date and time this information is due. I want to know who it's going to be received by and what method. And if they're going to send it to an email, I want the email there. If they're going to drop it in a SharePoint folder, I want the link there. Make it where there's no question, because I have literally had people say, I'll have it to you by 3 o'clock on Tuesday, and they email it to me and I'm waiting for it to drop into the SharePoint folder, or vice versa. It wastes time and it creates people having, confusion. It creates hard feelings. You eliminate it if you are very specific here. The next column I added is notes and next successor. There are some things that it's like, for this task, I want to make a note that's not big enough to be a task, but it needs to be attached. And if there is a next successor, sometimes there are things that they have to follow. It's really good to just note it here. That allows you to put it in the right order before you send it out. And the last thing I added is this column, resolution. It is super easy after this is finished and after the meeting's over and people are supposed to be putting their answers in here to say, is this column empty? If this column is empty and the date and time has passed, they're past due. But this just makes it where it's super easy to know, and everybody else does know too, if this person identified here did not do what they said they would do. So that's why it creates accountability. So this is what I did for this particular meeting. This is my email that I'm sending out, the body of the email, the focus of the meeting. I have the information. I have what we're going to be talking about. I have all of the out of scope information. And then I have details about Cowboy Ranch. I have information about trail guides and when the trail rides are going out on the easy trail and when they're going out on the challenge trail, and that challenge trail participants must pass a horsemanship test prior to departure. All the details that participants are going to want to know about what is it we're going to be talking about. It gives them a flavor and a focus. And again, in my email, I'm sending the pictures so that the visual thinkers will go, this is where we're going. If you want to send a map, send a link to the place, send whatever, give them the information so they can be oriented on what you're going to be talking about. You don't want them showing up at your meeting going, I'm not sure why I'm here, or I'm not sure what we're talking about. Let's take that away. Give them really good information from the first. Okay, so also, if you think that they may not have used a RACI matrix in this context, or if they aren't familiar or comfortable or accustomed to it, go ahead and say, we're going to be using a RACI matrix and you need this information. Include this either as an attachment, or I prefer to put it in the body of the email. I've had too many times when people didn't open the attachments. It's like, oh, I thought I'd get to it, but I never did. And so they show up at the meeting and I'm like, guys, I sent it. Put it in the body. Say, you will need to know this information in conducting our meeting. Okay, so you've sent out the meeting invites. The meeting's about to start. So we're going to go into stage 2, meeting beginning. Have the RACI at the top of your screen. On your screen as the meeting begins. Tell the participants you're going to be using a RACI to track decisions and tasks identified. Explain the RACI acronym with the information that I had on the previous screen. Explain the results of this meeting will be recorded on the RACI, including the resolution of each task. Also, I encourage you to say this. My job as a BA is to get everyone on the same page and to get resolution tasks for each of these things. What I'm asking you as meeting participants is to engage appropriately, lean in, and take advantage of this great effort to meet our goal, to make this department outing the very best it can be. Help them, again, get oriented and focused on what you're trying to do there. Okay, so I need to ask for one more participant from this group. Let me see, is that the biggest I can make it? I think so. I have Amarachi. She's going to be our person that is also in the finance department. Rob is going to be our health and safety person. Karishma is going to be participating in this meeting. David is going to be participating. Can I get one more person to participate that will come on camera?
Anyone, you can just raise your hand so you can bring it up, then you switch on your camera so we can move on. Anybody?
If you can drop your name in the chat so I can see. Okay, Cynthia. Okay, very good.
Yep.
Okay. So for this particular effort, as you can see, I've got my columns set up. I've got people's names across the top. If they have specific roles, I like to put the roles in here. And this is important whenever you are doing a software project. And let's say you've got a Jira developer and a front-end developer and a automated tester and a manual tester and a database architect in the meeting. And you have their roles for this project listed there. If your, say, database architect leaves the project, if they're reassigned and somebody brings in a new one, it's easy for you. If you know what role that they were and they left, you can go to the new database architect and say, he had committed to doing these things. Can you take on this role? Otherwise, you're scrambling. You know, it's like, I know John was in the meeting. I'm not sure what he was supposed, what he does, and what, make it easy on yourself. Put in their roles here. the roles in your project. Now, somebody can be a vice president and they're a database architect for your project. What they're doing in your project is what you need to identify down here. Okay. Also, in this particular project, in our role play today, we have a logistical thing that involves a whole lot of people, and you would think that transportation is probably the most important, but I'm going to tell you communication is the most important, because not only is communication going to have to send out information periodically, they have to receive information from everyone else. So we need to identify who is going to be responsible for communication first. So in this meeting, I'm going to say, thank you folks for participating in the meeting. You know what we're trying to do. You know what our timeline is. I've added a calendar up here. Today is the 15th. Here are the weeks in between now and then. And here's our target date, the 21st. I added the calendar, to be honest, so that the participants wouldn't have to look away from the screen. You know, all it takes is somebody say, oh, let me see what day that is. And they're checking Facebook or something before they know it. You know, don't make them do that. Give them a way to keep their eyes on the screen. So who wants to be involved in communication? And then you say communication is critical because it's going to let everyone know what's going on. It's going to allow us to identify any questions that we need to send out. The communication people are going to be pivotal. Who wants to be involved in communication? I've got Amarachi, Rob, Krishma, David, and Cynthia. Cynthia, you want to be involved in communication, so I'm going to put you as an R.
Actually,
Anyone else?
I wanted to clarify if we are choosing the roles we want. That's why I was my hand.
Yes.
Are we? Okay, yeah, so communication is good.
Okay, very good. So Cynthia is involved in communication. Cynthia, do you feel like you need help with this, or can you do it by yourself?
Well, I don't know. It's too early to say. Let's just say. I think I could do by myself.
Okay. Does anyone else want to be involved with Cynthia, just in case?
I can be involved. I think I can as well, Rob.
Okay, Rob, I'm going to make you R. Okay, so between Cynthia and Rob, which of you would like to lead this effort?
Between Cynthia and me.
Yes, between Cynthia and you.
I can take
Who
it
wants to-
if you're shy, but if I see Cynthia saying something, but she's on mute.
Cynthia, do you want to unmute your mic?
Yeah, so I have one more question.
Okay.
Yes.
So find out what is entailed in the communication, like what's involved in the communication.
Well,
Okay.
that's going to kind of be decided as we walk through this. We probably need to send out an initial announcement as soon as possible to let people know this is the high level plans and here's what we're doing. And then closer to the event, maybe the week before the event, we're going to send out the final plans.
Okay, so Rob has already identified she wants to take a lead on it. So yeah, that's no worries.
Okay.
Oh, okay. Okay. So I'm going to put accountable. So Rob, you are accountable and responsible. And so we have the initial communication. And do we have a distribution list? Rob, do you know, do we have a distribution list to these 50 people?
Not just yet. I can create one.
Okay, well, let's make that a task then. Communication, create distro list. Okay. And so the initial communication would go out to the distribution list, right? Am I thinking about that properly?
Yeah.
Correct. Yes.
Okay. I'll put distribution list there. When do we want to send out this initial? This is, again, high level. We don't have all the details. We don't know who's going to be providing food, who's going to be providing transportation, or what games there are. This is the announcement. It's going to happen. We pretty much have most of that information now. Is sending it out, say, on the 19th a good idea, or do you want to wait till closer to the date?
No, we'll do a prep email on the 19th, and then we can probably do it in series of 3, a prep, a reminder midway, and then one closer to the date.
Okay, let me get all that in here. So on
Excuse me.
2/15, can I say end of the day?
Yeah, end of the day is
Okay.
fine.
End of the day. Then we're going to have communication. And this is a reminder. And when do we want to send out the reminder email?
So since we're sending out the reminders in batches, yeah, like in three times. Is that correct? So
Okay,
Like-
we're going to send out one on the 19th. And when is the reminder going to go out?
Let's do it that same 3rd week.
The 3rd week on the 6th?
6th Thursday. Yeah, let's do the 6th, which is, I presume it's the Thursday. That's good before
Yes.
the Friday.
Okay, so that's 3/06.
and I would
And-
suggest we send on the 17th, just like a few days to the 21st. Just
Okay,
to refresh your memory.
Agreed.
final email. Again to the distribution list.
Mm-hmm.
And that's going to be on the, did you say the 17th?
Yes,
She's
that's
gonna get it?
Yes.
Okay, so that's 3/17. Again, end of day.
Mhm.
Yes.
Okay. And the same people are going to be involved in each of these efforts.
Yeah.
That way you've got continuity. There we go. And then responsible and accountable. Okay, create distribution list. When is that? That has to be done before the 19th. When can we get the distribution list created, Rob?
Let me see. Has it been done before the 19th? I can do it. Give me within 48 hours to get that done. So today's the 15th. Give me to the 19th.
Okay, so during the day on the 19th?
Yeah, I'll send it by noon on the 19th.
Okay. Do you need to test it?
Do I need to test the distribution list?
Uh-huh.
I hadn't thought about that. That's a good question. I don't know. I'm thinking that distribution list is normally set up already, but I suppose we can do a test to make sure it gets to everybody. There's no bounce back emails or anything.
Okay. Can I suggest then that we do this on the 18th? That way we can validate it before the 19th?
Okay, so test on the 18th and then fully send it on the 19th.
Yes.
Okay, I'm with it.
And so I noted that you're going to create and the distribution list and you're going to test it, and that's going to be complete by noon on the 18th.
That sounds
Okay.
good. Cynthia, do you agree that sounds good for you, Cynthia, as well, since we're in partnership?
Yeah,
Very
sure.
good.
Awesome.
Okay. Okay, so we have what we think initially we need for communication. However, we
Yeah.
are free to make changes to this as we go along. We may find out, oh, we need to do a survey or something like that. That's fine. But I want to note that I started each one with communication because it's the category title. It makes it super easy to find, and you know exactly who is responsible, accountable, and responsible for this. So it makes it super clear. So is there anything else? Leave it open. Is there anything else we need to do for communication at this time? We might come back and revisit it if we need to. Are we good for now?
We're good for now. Cynthia, I think we're good for now. We can just talk
Yeah.
more later.
I think we've covered most of the bases. So yeah, we're good for now.
Okay, very good. Okay, I'm going to move on to transportation. Transportation for 50 people from the office to the location and then from the location back to the office. Who would like to be involved in transportation?
Logistics.
Say that again.
I'll handle that.
Okay. David is going to be involved in that one. And you notice I'm putting R's on here. I'm not putting A's. This is just who wants to be involved.
Yeah.
So I've got one person involved. Is there anybody else that would like to be involved in this? Okay.
Anyone who
David?
would like to be involved, please raise your hand. Just raise your hand, then we can, just jump in here.
Okay. So, David, it looks like you are going to be responsible and accountable.
No worries.
I can join them. That's fine. We
Okay.
can share that.
Okay.
Oh, Krishna, do you want to
Yeah.
be involved as well?
Yeah, if we can. Yeah.
Okay, very good. So, you two, Krishna and David, what are your first thoughts on transportation? Are we going to get a bus or 2 buses? I guess 2 buses.
I would say
get-
2 buses still.
Definitely. It's not just 50 people. We just have to make sure everybody have their own space and it's not congested at the same time. And also want to check the route from start point to end point, how the route is.
Okay.
Do we need to make some stoppages on the way, or it's like one drive all the way?
Okay. So we're going to arrange the bus, identify the route. Did I miss something? Is there anything else for that? Okay. So are there any other considerations for transportation?
And we need to also check, like, it's just only the people that we're going to transport, or also we're going to take up some of the luggage for the events that we're going to host there.
That's a good question.
Something along isn't part of the complete logistics solutions that we try to find here for this event.
Right.
I guess.
If we need luggage from the games or food, we can come back and do another task on that. Okay.
Yeah, I can see Adefunke say raising her hand. I think you want to say something as well. Adefunke, go ahead.
Go ahead.
Yeah, I was just thinking, instead of arranging the bus first, are you not supposed to do some kind of check around to get like different quotes from people to know the capacity of the bus and all of that before we do all of that?
We can put that.
A typical bus will hold at least 40 people. And what else would we need to know?
I feel perhaps she's talking about in terms of budget.
Okay, well, we have an unlimited budget, so we don't have limitations there. You just have to figure out which company we want to go with. How you go about figuring that out, for our fiscal responsibility, I would assume that you would get a couple of quotes and such. But
yeah, and that also be consider also, like, it's not the first event that we do for the company, so we probably have the vendor list already ready. It's just a matter of time and
But that does not mean that you want to go with that vendor, does it? That does not mean that you want to go with that vendor. So even if you have a vendor list, you want to check with other vendors whether or not maybe now you want to go for a luxurious type of bus, or you want to go for the normal bus, or is it possible that even the vendor's bus is not available at that point in time? You still want to do all of that check first.
That's an interesting point. Do we have an approved vendors list that we have to go by, or are we free?
I'd say, okay, Cynthia, go ahead.
Yeah, I wanted to say, in regards to what Adefunke is saying, I think it falls in the arrange box, like arrange box section. So when you're arranging the box, you now decide which of the vendors do you want to go for, assuming you have a vendors list. So I think arrange box already covers that aspect she's considering. I don't know if that's right, Adefunke.
Okay.
So arrange boss could be make payments, right? You're confirming with them, understanding what the terms and conditions are, basically. So just imagine like you do an RFP, right? Out to people. You want to know what they can offer in terms of their services. So are they just doing to fro? Are they covering that journey? So they might not go for that journey that you want. Maybe you're probably going out of town, and maybe the vendor you have or only does this, within the town and things like that. So you would still need to send out like a request for information, RFI out, isn't it? To have a good understanding. So once you've done all of that, then we then go to making an arrangement. Once we've confirmed that this is what we want, then we then make an arrangement to probably make payments or make deposits or any other bits that needs to be done before we then move on to identifying the routes, because they would have told us what the route that they are going to take as well.
Yes, that's correct. That is correct. But
Yeah, absolutely.
but arranged bus is not, because the way you're saying it means you're trying to limit arranged bus to only making payment. You could have all of these in arranging the bus. Like you'd have separate tax under arranged bus. Like from sending the request to evaluating the responses from the vendors to going down to payment, all of those can fall into arranged bus.
Okay. Chioma, you have something to say? Please unmute your mic and contribute.
Yeah, thank you so much. So, Adefunke, I think you're right with what you're saying, but like they said initially, this is high level, right? So, I think we should go on with the transport arrangement that we have there, because this is high level. We'll get to the detailed level much later, if I'm right. Thank you.
So, which means our contribution is also valid, but right now we are looking at high level.
Yeah.
All right.
Thanks.
Very good.
Okay.
Apologies, I
Any other
missed that,
person? I
so,
think we can move on. Okay.
That was a good conversation.
What?
So, David and Karishma, you're going to go through the entire process of arranging the bus up to getting us a contract. When do you think that you can get that information completed so that we can provide that information to not only communication but to finance?
Karishma, do you want to go first?
No worries. Yeah, I would prefer to put a bat on the second week by the middle and end of the second week, because I don't want to rush it as we are going through all the process of finding the vendor, budget, everything. It's gonna need a good amount of time of 1 or 2 weeks to figure out what exactly we are transporting, what's the routes, and discussing with the vendor list gonna take at least 2 weeks. I want to make sure like things are concrete by reaching of the third week. So I would put like somewhere 26.
Okay. Is that good with you, David?
What's the thoughts? Yeah, go ahead.
This can be changed. I'm just putting it down
Yes.
here. Is this date and time good for you, David?
Yeah, she's part of my team, so we can work with that.
Okay. One thing with arranging the bus, getting the contract, we do need to send the information to finance. So Amarachi, you're going to be informed
Informed.
and you need the contract. And Amarachi, I'm going to make up emails here. Amarachi is going to be contract to amar@co.com. So we know exactly how to get it to her and exactly what she needs. There's no question there. Does anyone else need to provide information or be consulted about the transportation? I'm looking at you, Rob, for health and safety.
I was just about to comment and say something. Thank you for that. If you can, yes, I want to be informed of this, and I'd want you to put a point or it's right after the word route that says health and safety, so it calls out to the participants that is something we need to look into when we're going into the final of the activity. So just after route, just add health and safety.
Instead of doing it there, I'd like to do that over here, and I want to make you consulted because you need to be able to contribute to making the decision. For instance, do we have people that are in wheelchairs? Do we have people that are in walkers? Do we need a special equipped type of bus? So I want to make you consulted there, and I'm going to do H&S here, and also, do you want them to contact you by email or?
Yes.
Okay.
Email is great. Yeah.
Okay, I got rob@co.com.
Yeah, I need something to refer to just in case we happen to miss anything along the way. So please.
Okay. A question about transportation for financial and liability reasons. I'd like to propose the decision that the transportation company is responsible for loading and unloading the people and the equipment. Can I make that decision and y'all agree with me? Or we can have that discussion. The reason I want to do that is because for liability purposes, we don't necessarily want people helping their coworkers to get up the steps from their wheelchair. The people for the transportation company are bonded, licensed, trained to do things like that. David and Karishma, are y'all good with that idea? Let's start with y'all.
Yeah, no, definitely. That makes sense completely when we are hiring a vendor for the transportation route purpose. It covers all such responsibilities. And not only that, we also want to involve some medic help on the bus, that we're going to have it because of the safety and health reason. So we have to consult Rob, what are the cases that we have to see, or some of the quick medications that require to have on the bus. So such kind of information we can pass on to our vendor to make an arrangement in a way that we have all the necessary things.
Mhm.
Kind of not only RFI or RFQ we want to roll out, we also want to roll out the mandatory requirements that requires to fulfill in order to get you the contract for this event.
That's great.
Also in a part of that.
And with that, and I'd like a list on that too.
Okay, so we've got transportation. The company will be responsible for loading and unloading people, supplies, and equipment as one decision. And the second one I heard was transportation. The company will provide what medical supplies? Is there
Medical
like a standard
supplies
list?
such as first
First aid kit.
Yeah.
Mhm.
For providing a standard list of medical supplies for buses.
Yeah.
Okay. You notice that I'm making this very specific so that they're not responsible for providing medical supplies. That's too ambiguous. I'm going to make the assumption we have a standard list of medical supplies. That way we could say, yes, it was done, or no, it was not done. So I've got two decisions here. Let's go ahead and address those. Amarachi, do you agree to both of these?
Okay.
Yeah, sure. Mhm.
Okay.
A quick one. Chima, you want to say something? Please unmute your mic and contribute. Then I come back to you, Cynthia.
It's just a question. Is it the responsibility of the bus company to provide the medical staff for the bus?
Is it medical staff and medical supplies both?
Oh, the medical supplies. Yeah, is it the responsibility of the bus company?
To be honest, most bus companies have first aid kits on board, and that's kind of the direction I'm thinking this is going. We're not asking them to provide life-saving equipment or anything like that.
Okay.
Yeah, and I'd also want to add that this list that we're gathering is to make sure that we know what the bus company can offer us in terms of, like Thea mentioned earlier, listen, we may need to have some people helping the colleagues get on the bus in terms of wheelchair assistance and whatnot. So by getting that list, by ascertaining what information this bus company has to fulfill all of our needs on this trip, that's what that list is about. So if a company does not offer the extra services of having someone to assist persons in a wheelchair, then we just go to another bus company.
Right.
This helps inform the decision as to who's providing the transportation.
Correct.
Okay, so let's talk about these two. Does anyone have any more conversation about these two
Cynthia,
decisions?
do you wanna go for it now?
Let's go ahead.
Yeah, sure. So I wanted to also ask, are we considering need for licensed first aiders? Like, since we already have first aid, or do we have within our team somebody that is licensed to provide first aid? That's another thing
Good call.
under health and safety. So I think Rob should be in the best position to.
So, Rob, do we need to have first aid providers on the buses? I mean, you know how many people we have that have medical issues or anything like that. You can tell us, is that a concern?
Oh, that's for me, Thea?
Yes.
Yeah, I mean, with the people, with the colleagues within the company and their families, and we need to find out from not only ourselves, but the family someone has done something that's echoing, who has special needs, and then maybe we can have someone, yeah. So I'd say yes, we can have someone on call or reserved. Maybe if it's with the bus company, maybe a first responder, I'm not sure. To take
I tell you what, I'm going to request that we postpone the conversation about first responders to later, because we're going to talk about having first responders at the ranch.
Okay.
And if we do that, they may be first responders, and some of them come to the office and ride the buses if we feel like we need that. But let's get a little bit further into the conversation before we talk about that. Let's just talk about these two decisions. The company will be responsible for loading and unloading people, supplies, and equipment, and the company will be responsible for providing the standard list of medical supplies for the buses. Let me go. Amarachi, do you agree to both of these?
Yes, I
Ron,
do. Yeah.
you agree. Okay. Rob, do you agree to both of these?
I agree.
Okay. Karishma? Okay. David?
Absolutely.
Okay. And Cynthia?
Yes, I do.
Okay, so we have agreement on both of those. You noticed I made these bold so it's easy to find where the decisions are, to make them just a little bit different than our typical things, but I still am grouping it with the things that it's talking about.
And
okay, so
if I may
yes.
ask a question, boldness indicates that these are decisions we need to flush out some more, yes?
No, these are decisions that we've agreed to.
Okay. So
let me back up. These are decisions that we brought up and that we have recorded who agreed to them. It doesn't necessarily mean that we have to have 100% agreement. It may be that someone didn't agree, but our governance says, for instance, Rob, that you are the one to make the final decision on medical supplies. So if you agree to it and Cynthia doesn't agree to it, because our governance says you are the one to make the decision, we would have to follow our governance in that case. But this identifies and records who agreed or who abstained or who disagreed, so that we can, if we need to, we can have further discussions. But because we have 100% agreement, the decision's been made. Do you?
I got it. So this means, since I agreed, and we were talking about specifics, if we'll need a first responder, that will need to be flushed out based on that agreement further. Got you.
Yes,
Got you.
we'll have that discussion a little bit later. Okay, we have the transportation to the location and the transportation from the location. Do we need to make any other decisions about transportation? For instance, what time are we going to load? Are we going to begin loading 45 minutes before we leave? Or are we going to begin loading 30 minutes before we leave?
I'll say 30 minutes before we leave. Karishma, what do you think?
I would say, yeah, for the equipment, we load it first, and then we can start with the people, because we don't want to do the both things together and end up with some of the accident that might not happen on this. So we try giving them a good bandwidth, like 45 minutes before the event, we load the equipment, and basically we take up a list and check. According to checklist, we can provide the travel company to go along with that and make sure the safety and security of the equipment in a way that securely transported without any damages to that. Otherwise, the company will end up responsible. So we have to add up all those criteria when we do an agreement with the company. And same goes with the people. So we also need, like, for each bus, at least 2 person as a representative, either from a standalone company or from our company or from the transport company, who can guide people as per the accessibility requirements for the people, like prioritize them to onboard and offboard both the times. That I can put like at least 30 to 20 minutes before, depending on which bus has which category of people that we are loading up. Yes,
okay.
Ruth, go ahead.
Okay.
45 minutes sounds like it's what will work. I see a hand up.
Yeah, Shema and Rob, your answer up.
I just want a clarification from Karishma and David. David, I heard you say you suggest loading the bus 30 minutes before. Karishma, I heard you say loading 45 minutes before, and we'll start with the equipment. I want to call out that if we're taking into once we're taking into consideration if we have persons with a disability, example wheelchair, that may require more time. I'm not sure 45 minutes to 30 minutes is it, but maybe that can fall into the specifics as we flush out further.
It will fall in specific once we have the list from you that each bus we have the accessibility requirements to fulfill, and how many people we have to assess specifically for that case. And the other bus, which I will not try putting the equipment and the people who needs an extra care both together in the same bus. So we try dividing people in such a way that once the equipment gets loaded in one bus, 45 minutes before with departure, and 30 or 20 minutes before we start onboarding people at the same time.
I'm with you. Got it.
right? And with people who need an extra care, we have dedicated 45 minutes for them.
Okay.
So we
Okay.
want to do this activity simultaneously. So I consider like we have at least 4 assistants to help with the people, and people who are working on equipment, they are the different staff altogether.
Karishma, you're making my job much easier. Thank you for that.
Your analysis is
I love
so
details.
strong there. Cynthia, you have a question.
I have a question, but Chama's hand has been up for a while. I think
Oh,
one
I'm
has.
sorry. Go ahead.
Okay, so it's regarding the loading of equipment, as Karishma has stated. And I began to wonder, isn't it already supplied by the transport company? Like if they're coming, because it says here that the transport company is providing the list of medical supplies. So if they're driving to our location, they already have it with them in the bus.
The equipment we're talking about is not limited to medical supplies. The equipment we're talking about are things like if we decide we have games that we want to carry, or if we decide that we want to move food from the office to the location. That's the type of equipment we're talking about.
Well, so yeah, it confused
supply-
me because the word equipment was kind of flashing in my head. I was trying.
No, I'm so sorry for the
They may
confusion.
have said other supplies like game supplies or whatever.
Yeah,
Let me
equipment.
specify that. Thank you.
What I consider very lightweight equipment that's not gonna loading up a lot. Not a medical equipment, but definitely consider a first aid kit in both the buses. The equipment, and other than I would say a luggage that people gonna carry with them. Some of them they don't wanna sit along with the luggage, so we're gonna provide a provision that we can take those luggage and put that along with the equipment and the compartment sides. So we don't wanna be crowding the bus a lot with a lot of stuff and people at the same time.
Let's say that we have some young families and they want to bring a baby swing because that's the only way their baby will take a nap in the middle of the day. And we have someone that needs a large special chair to sit in, and they're concerned that they might not be able to sit into the chairs that are at the ranch. So they would want that equipment brought. That's the type of equipment that I'm thinking of.
Okay.
Okay. Anybody else with hands up? Okay. So did we agree to loading will begin 45 minutes before the departure from each location? Are we good with that?
Rob agrees. Yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, it may change it in time, but yes, ideally that's the time.
Yeah.
So let me go through agreement. Amarachi, are you good with this?
Yeah, I'm good.
Okay. Rob?
I agree.
Okay. Karishma?
Yeah.
Okay. David?
So far that accommodates everyone, I'm good.
Okay.
That's the easy way out.
Cynthia, are you good with this one?
Yes, I am.
Okay, very good. For right now, realizing we can come back if we need to, is there anything else about transportation that we need to specify or resolve? Any other tasks? Okay.
Specific, we can come up with the contingency plan for that. That also the responsibility of the transport company that we hire.
Okay, okay, so you're in risk analysis now, and you're talking about if their bus were to break down, they would be responsible for providing
Yes.
another bus. And okay, so sounds like another decision. Let me copy this one down.
Yep.
And the company will be responsible for providing backup transportation.
Yeah, a quick one. Mark, if you want to unmute your mic, you dropped a message regarding that. Do you want to speak to it? Mark, are you there? All right, Amarachi, your hand is up.
Yeah, so I was thinking we have to decide like an arrival time for everyone. So which would be added to the email or the distribution list where we would inform them, or everyone have to be at our takeoff point so time. And we have to like consider the departure, that's the 45 minutes and everything. So we know that everybody's present at so time, and then we can do what we have to do. That's what I'm thinking, like the next thing to consider.
Yeah, you're right about that because I was about to raise the same point because I checked. We are supposed to be at the event from 9 to
Yeah.
5. So what time are we supposed to arrive at the company and what time are we leaving?
Okay, no, we're leaving at 9 o'clock from the
Mhm.
office, and we're arriving back at the office at 5 o'clock.
So
So
what's
at 8:15, people can start loading. As long as they get loaded by 9 o'clock before we leave, we're good.
So if the loading starts by 8:15, then that means we need to prompt the rest of the staff to come into the office before 8.
Yeah. Exactly.
How much are you going to let them be responsible for? I mean, if they just decide they don't want to go, are you going to make everybody wait for them if they don't show up? Are you going to say everybody's got to be there at 8 o'clock and you got to stand there for 15 minutes before we start loading? Some people might want to arrive and load right before they leave because they get, it's like too many people. I don't want to be on a bus with these people for 30 minutes.
Right. And we
So-
also need to consider this also part that we need to take an attendance of the people who sign up actually and who show up. And
Okay.
that's where we can make an arrangement with the food and other games and activities that we plan for the day. So we can have a final count of people that we are going with.
Yeah.
That also requires, and also plans change run time. Some people just don't want to come with the bus. They just want to come directly to the location because of other commitments. So we
Okay.
still consider them with the food and games thing, but not throughout the event. So
Yes.
those are also the scenarios we need to take care before we planning or onboarding people on the bus.
Yeah, another thing I would say is the bus, because you just raised a point. People might consider to drive themselves. So is the bus compulsory or optional? Because if it's compulsory, then they have to follow the bus. If it's optional, then you have people choosing to drive to the location themselves. So I think we have to decide first, is the bus compulsory? Yes or no?
Definitely, it's compulsory in a case like we have to not only move the people, but also other luggage and equipment for the event part. But I'm considering and giving a consideration to the scenario wherein people with specific needs, they might don't want to come on a bus and make things difficult for them and others. So they might consider the point that, okay, I will drive along that, but they are still part of the event. So we are still considering as in signing up. But we just need to make sure that we also check people before we are starting all this activity. So just asking them to arrive exactly at 8, that's gonna make things a little more rushy at the point.
Yeah, I agree with that. And then we can make bus and their own transportation, both options they can use. One, bus is mandatory, and then you still have an option to take your vehicle or whatever convenience it is for you.
Convenience, exactly.
Okay, so let's start with this. We need to have someone to check in the participants as they arrive to be sure that they're there for the bus. Who's going to do that? Is that going to be David and Karishma?
Okay, on the head count. Yeah.
Okay, y'all can do that head count.
And offer them coffee while they wait, David and Karishma.
Well, I'll tell you what, you can arrange for other people to come do it, but you're going to be responsible for arranging it. Does that make sense? And so this is.
Yeah, and I think we had, sorry to interject, but I think we had someone's hand up, Anda.
Anda, you want to say something? Please go ahead.
Yes, I wanted to ask in terms of capacity on the bus. In terms of luggages, can you just bring anything? Are there any limitations or rules about like how many bags you need to carry and stuff like that? And also, I wanted to find out also about seating arrangement, to choose who you wanna sit next to. How
That is a fair question.
That's a good one.
Oh, don't want to sit with my boss. No, those are the parts are also thought, but that also fall in the category when the communication team roll out emails to all the people to sign up for this event. That's where the rules also been shared as a part of the communication. That what you can bring, what you cannot bring. And this is the seat arrangement. Once we finalize with the company, we're gonna have the map of the bus. And that will also been rolling out with the communication team to send with the people. to sign up for that, or just as a reminder that this is the map, this is the route, and this is the bus arrangement, and this is your bus number, like bus number as well as your seat number, something like that. But I don't want people to be feel like that they are students and we are managing them, because I consider that's an adult party, so everyone has right to sit with whoever they feels like. But only thing that needs just to make sure they have the right bus and they have all the details about which is the window side, just the sunny side.
Yeah, so for me, I would say basically what we're trying to do is just to ensure that we provide the right bus with the capacity, and also the, using Rob saying the health and safety is in check. They might not be able to really select their seat to say this is where I want to sit, because if you make that open to everyone to say, okay, select your seat, it might become a problem, it might become
No,
an
it
issue.
doesn't feel like
Just
that.
leave it open, So the communication part, we undo that to make them understand we providing a bus and this is what we are agreeing with.
Okay, so I've gone back up here to the original transportation, arrange bus, identify the route. You're going to be not only consulting with Rob about health and safety, but you're also going to be providing the informing about communication for the communication that needs to go out. You're going to be providing to them the location of the departure, time of departure. Is there anything else that you need, Rob, for communication with all the stuff we've talked about?
I'm thinking we talked about food. I don't know if
we haven't gotten to food yet. We'll get to food in just a minute.
Then
this this transportation.
Nothing.
I think we're yet to,
say it again, Amarachi.
okay, so I think we're yet to add the part where we decide the time, the arrival time of the participants or the employees or everyone, because I think it has to be communicated to Rob as well.
Right. That's time of departure is right here.
Not departure per se, like the time when we come to the office.
Okay.
Arrival time, you mean?
Arrival time.
Yeah, the arrival time, yeah.
All right, Cynthia, your hand is up.
Yeah, because I have one more question. Are we going to have a sign-up list for interested parties that want to attend the event? So we could have a checklist. Do we already have that covered?
Yeah, we have that confirmed already.
Okay,
we have our people, it's confirmed. We have the waivers already identified.
Yeah.
Okay.
50.
So, I'm sorry, go ahead, David.
No, I'm just corroborating what you said, that we have that readily available.
Right. Okay, going back down here, transportation, the company will be responsible for providing backup transportation if needed. Does everyone agree?
Agree.
Amarachi,
Agree.
Rob,
Yeah.
Krishna?
Agree.
Cynthia?
Agree.
All
Yes.
right. Okay, and we have arranged the check-in, a checklist for participants. That is not something that we need to have far ahead of time, but it would be good if you were able to say, this is the plan we're doing. When do you think you're going to have that plan of how you're going to do it? I mean, honestly, you can do your assigned buses. You know, this group of people will go to this bus and the driver checks them in as they come on. You can have people standing there just, you can do it a whole bunch of different ways. Just tell us what you're going to do and give me an idea of when you're going to have that plan in place.
That's a whose question, Cynthia? Mine?
This is for transportation, so it's David and Krishna.
They would like to go first.
Right. So we mentioned that we might have people that need extra support, So do we, now my question is, do we merge everyone together or we give them a dedicated bus?
You can make those decisions on your own. We just need to know when you're going to have the plan of how to check in participants. Can you have that to us by 3/5?
Let's see. Yeah, Karishma, is that okay by you?
I'm still thinking on that part. Sorry, David. It's just like I'm still not clear with the checklist here. I might have mixed up two things here. So can someone help me differentiate the checklist? What
This is the checklist
exactly?
to how many participants actually show up that morning, and you said that that number of participants would inform how much food we needed and such as that.
Okay, the checklist for this one, I guess we can have it once we have the company finalized by end of second week. And
Okay.
we can roll out with the communication that's gonna be out in the third week probably. That this
Okay.
is the checklist, that these are the things you can carry with you,
Okay.
and these things better not carry like additional stuff on that. So we can put on 26 to communication.
Okay. Let me put
That's the same time. That's the same time for
We finalize the
yeah,
contract.
yeah.
So once we finalize, we know which kind of bus and what is the plan map of the bus and seating arrangement. We can know how much space we have. So we can provide those information in a communication team that this is the equipment or luggage space we have in each of the bus. And this much luggage we already go as a part of the company event that company is going to put on this part. And this space is available. So we can cover up and make sure people carry only one bottle of water or two or something like that and not have a bunch of the stuff with them.
And
Considering
if you
that they're gonna have space.
if you need this information for the contract itself, you can make those plans then. Okay, the next decision, participants can choose to transport themselves and not ride the bus. Do we all agree on that?
Agreed.
Agree.
Cynthia, you want to say something?
Yeah, I wanted to say something. It's regarding the checklist. So the checklist, are we confirming, because the way I understand it also is for checklist when we're confirming the number of people you have in the bus. Is that what you want to use the checklist for as well?
Yeah.
Yeah.
This is the checklist of the morning of departure so that we can say 29 people actually showed up and we had expected 32.
Okay.
That's how
and David and Karishma, how would you guys want to do that? Is it by writing the names or how do you want to do that?
So I would say the feedback is coming from the final arrangement, right? That's looking at the schedule that we have here. So that will help us to take informed decision.
Yeah. And David and Krishma, y'all have the authority to go make these decisions yourself. We don't need to decide everything during this meeting. Let's see. Amarachi, you agreed. Rob, you agreed. Krishma, did you agree on this?
Yep.
On the participants can choose. And David?
Yeah,
are you good
I agree.
Okay,
Anda and Kani, your answer up. You can unmute your mic, Anda. Then Kani, you go after her.
Question about participants who will opt to drive. Is there a budget? Like if they opt to drive, will they get money or self-funded? What are the logistics there?
Well, we can submit that to our finance person, Amarachi. Is that something if they choose to, if they drive themselves, does the company have a history of reimbursing, or is it they choose to drive themselves and they're free to do so, but we're not reimbursing?
Well, so because as much as possible, we want to save costs, yeah. And so we've provided like a bus already. So if you choose to ride on your own, then you have to provide yourself.
I want to add.
I thought we don't have a budget.
Well, it's kind of
thought you can go all
unlimited, but
out.
at the same time, as much as possible, we still have to save costs. While it's an open budget, no one wants to, put that money. If we have any way of, saving some, would want to do that.
No,
Okay.
I agree with Amrati's thoughts on this. No. It might
All
seem
right.
like companies trying to save some bucks on that, but it's not the case. Like you as an individual is picking comfort over riding with together where the company's offering this service of transportation to and from. It's because of the specific case scenario we are considering and letting them come in on their own. So yeah, for that part of the gas charges and reimbursement doesn't make sense because they're still enjoying the event that's been hosted by a company's budget.
Absolutely.
part of our goal in this is to get people to get to know each other. And if they
Together, we can,
know
yes.
us, they're going to miss getting those conversations and that exposure to each other. So have that a new decision. I'm sorry, let's go back to the old decision. Participants can choose to transfer themselves, not ride the bus. Cynthia, I didn't find out if you agreed to that.
Oh yeah, I do. I agree with that.
Okay. And then we have Amarachi informed us that finance has already established this. I just want to go ahead and go through the formality. Participants who choose to transport themselves will not be reimbursed or funded. Rob, are you good with that?
I have a question because as long as they're, in my opinion, if you're traveling for a work event, then the company is responsible because you're on that work event. So now I do agree with Amarachi. Listen, we're not extending any additional things. However, I would say offer the employees some sort of, I don't know, gas fee or whatever, because you are coming to the company event, but you only get it if you come to the company's event. I'd like to put some sort of option in there for the employees, because we have already a list of, let's say, 50 people who have confirmed to be coming. Some of them will be driving. Agreed, some of them may not even show up, and then we miss that quota, right? My argument is, for those who are driving, let's put some sort of, I don't know if the word is contingency plan, but some sort of option in there where persons feel as though it's a work activity. We're still supporting you as a company.
I agree with your idea, Rob. However, our company policy is we provided transportation, and if you choose to take different transportation, we're not going to fund a second one.
All right. Penny, can we hear from you? I hope I pronounced that rightly. Penny, your hand is up.
Thank you, David. A quick one here in regards to the checklist. So people that will actually be driving themselves to the actual event, how are we going to account for them? Because we said the checklist will actually be checked when the people are there physically. Are those people going to be driving from their places to the place of work or straight to the venue?
We're going to have a variety of situations. Some people will choose to drive from their home and goes directly to the ranch. This checklist is specifically for people who are riding the bus.
But the thing is, with that checklist, it's going to be used to determine the food that is going to be supplied.
Yes.
And also, I think this checklist is also for the things you can bring while coming, yeah? Not just the number of people who are, if I got this right, not just the number of people who are coming to the office to move alongside with us. It's also the things you can come with, yeah?
Right.
Okay, so I think that one can be communicated via email as part of the distribution list. And
I'd like to propose a way around the checklist problem. I agree that the people that show up for the bus are what we know we will be feeding, but our caterer is already knowing that we plan on 50 people. So they're not going to not feed 3 baked potatoes if we say we had 3 people that didn't show up for the bus. I mean, they're still going to bring enough baked potatoes and chili and whatever else for 50 people. So I don't think that's going to be a big problem. If we came up that morning and we found out that only 5 people were showing up, we have a whole different contingency plan we've got to work on. But for this event, for 50 people, we've got a checklist just to say, if we had a bus accident, we would be able to say, we know who should have gotten off the bus, instead of going, we don't know how many people should have been on the bus.
Absolutely.
So the checklist is for our ability and our protection to take good care of those people that are in our charge.
Right, and the checklist is not just for the one time, just to make sure it's not just on a day we are moving. It's gonna be checklist like couple dozen times with the people. So we have the exact track of people who join, who start with us, who might not end the journey with the same bus route. Sometimes people just decided to leave it after some of the events by their own. But we still have a checklist, not only when they onboard and offboard at both the location, but also at the counter of the foods and the games events. How many people participate in particular events of the games that we played, and the food counters also. We've been distributing the tokens and everything, so we have track of people
Right.
throughout the day.
I just want to get
It's
it
not just the
clear.
one-time check.
Yeah, so I
Cynthia,
want to get it clear. Can we all agree that the checklist has two purposes? One, to check for the number of items, like what's allowed and what's not allowed. And two, to validate the number of people in attendance. Can we
Yeah.
say that's the essence of the checklist?
Yes.
Or are there more to
I
it?
wouldn't really say attendance, but I would say the number of people in the bus attendance, because even the people that will be self-traveling will then be deemed as attending, but they are not actually in the bus. So it is to actually keep track of the number of people in the bus.
So I think we could also do
An
we could have two
attendance.
checklists. So we could have a checklist that checks the number of people in the bus and a checklist that confirms the number of people in attendance.
Right. I'd like to address that
This is
right here
checklist,
with
yes.
the communication plan. This checklist plan, I want to set it up where when we communicate that we're going to check off people that are on the buses. If you're not planning on riding the bus, we want you to register with us ahead of time and then check in with us whenever you arrive at the location. Because
Right.
a family that has 5 small children and it's like, I cannot get them all in the car seats and get them there before 10 o'clock. So I'm going to be late, but I want you to know I've got these kids. And if then a kid runs off and gets lost, I need help finding the kid. Y'all need to know I'm there. So we need a checklist at the venue and a checklist for the bus. Does that solve the problem?
I think
Okay,
so.
so I'm going to change this from to communication. We're going to explain the checklist plan for the buses and a checklist for those driving themselves. Okay.
Yes.
And so communication, you're going to do both of that, which gives us a new task. Checklist for at the venue. Who would like to be responsible for that?
Transportation person? Or health and safety?
I guess both can go hand in hand, because we also need to make sure people are in a good health on the way they reach. So if they feel something, they need some supplies or they need some medication, we can reach out to the health and safety department at the same time.
Okay.
And for rest of the people, we just mark, checked in, and guide them towards the venue items. And
Okay, so Carissa, are you signing up for the checklist at the venue as well? So you can just continue your checklist for
yes,
these people are on the bus and these people are at the venue?
Absolutely.
yeah, that makes job much easier, I believe. So yeah.
I like the continuity there. David, are you on board with this too? To just maintain
Yeah,
the
I am. I've got a quick question though, because from here we're developing checklist and we don't even know the distance, because people need to know how long and how far they're gonna drive.
It's
So
30 minutes right up here. The Cowboy Ranch is 30 minutes away from the, I didn't put it on this slide, but it's in your email. It's 30 minutes away from the office.
okay, all right, okay then, all right,
Okay.
yes,
Okay. So I'm going to just bring those down here. And you're going to maintain that, and you're going to be providing information to communications for that one as well. And I'll split up this part here so that it doesn't have both in it. So this one is for the buses. Realizing it's coming from the same people, but I want to split up the tasks so that each one is able to stand on its own. If you look at one task, you get everything for that one task, and these people right here know whenever they've done this task, here's all the information. Okay.
all right. Cynthia, your hand is up. Please unmute your mic and
Yes, Cynthia.
Yeah, I want to suggest something. Is it possible for us to create a different group or that works, different group from health and safety and transportation, that their main responsibility is to cater for the affairs that is happening in the venue.
What type of affairs?
Like, because I want like confirming the number of people in attendance at the venue, or any other logistics that might happen at the venue.
From a health and safety perspective.
They are still from the so it's from the health and safety team, and also working in collaboration with the transportation team. Because this logistics we're talking about now is movement to the venue. What about logistics that happen in the venue? Does that make sense?
Hellboy Ranch folks have that organized, and they are running it.
Yeah, but although the ranch folks has that organized, we as a team, shouldn't we also have some sort of responsibility so that keep ourselves in check? Or are we just handing it all over to the ranch staff to take care of?
Since if I get you right, are you saying that some of our personnel should go ahead of time before the all participants move down there? Is that what you're saying?
Not really. What I'm saying is, so I know that the ranch staff, they're responsible for the activities that would happen in the ranch, yeah? But under health and safety and transportation, I'm saying, can we also have people representing us that is working together with the ranch staff to keep logistics happening? I don't know if I'm explaining.
You're saying like a trust but verify. So while the venue has people who are taking care of these things, we, like me in this instance, would come and make sure, yes, those are safe for our people, that's not safe for my people, like a quality check just to make sure things are
something of that sort, yeah. And still manages the whole logistics, yeah.
I agree with that, and I would want to pull in what David just said. You know, that person as in me. That person as in me. Going.
That means they need to go ahead of time.
Yeah, go ahead of time. Make sure everything is secure with the venue. Likewise, at the venue, double check that everything is still working as we've signed off. Yes, I can go with that. I agree.
Michael, you want to say something?
Yes, I want to ask. So, who will be responsible for the safety of people driving down on their own to the venue? Maybe in case their car got broken down on the road. So, who will be responsible for that safety?
Okay.
I think it should be the risk covered by the person driving, because it's their decision to drive by themselves. It's not the company's responsibility to cover that risk.
Yeah.
I would say you call your insurance company.
No. I do understand, but the thing is, it also comes in the category of transport team for me and David to check up on those people who are driving by themselves. But it might can happen the car breaks down on the way and we haven't reached because the bus is driving at specific speed. That's what I consider ideal cases scenario. We drive safely, so we can catch them up on the way. If it's on the way and they didn't take the different route than the bus that we have rolled out in the communication part, we can always check upon with them. But yeah, they are ultimately responsible for calling the cops and insurance team and all that together. The least we can do is we can provide them alternate transportation within the same bus.
So, Karishma, you've just gotten my buy-in because I was still on the fence whether I agree with us, the company not doing something in terms of a safety perspective. But in terms of what you just mentioned, let's just make sure we keep the touch point for persons who are driving to keep checking. Are you okay? Yeah. Are you okay on this venue? Then I can agree with that from a safety perspective.
Right.
These 50 people are confirmed. So yes, you've got my buy-in there.
Okay.
Just don't want to hang them on the road without help.
Yeah.
Well, it's an event for celebration of togetherness. I just want to make sure they have something as a backing up, and we also plan to have like a couple of the checkpoints on the route, though it's a 30-minute drive, it's not much, but we want to make sure like at least 1 or 2 midpoint wherein the bus specifically stops and waits for people, like if they have something urgency, they want to move back to the bus, join together with other people, or cars break down or something like that.
Yep.
For that worst case scenarios. So those are the 2 checkpoints on the route we'll like to put when we roll out the transport route.
The health and safety person is down like 4 flat tires, yes.
So did I capture this properly? Participants who choose to transport themselves will be responsible for arriving at the venue, but if they have issues, they can call the transport coordinator.
Yeah.
Is that good?
Yeah, that works.
Yeah, that works.
Have that as a decision, which means that communication will be providing that information to the folks as well. So let me mark on here. I gotta change my merge, unmerge it here and merge it this way. And so communication, convey this one. And that's a decision. We're going to go back through these decisions in a second. Going back to venue, check conditions ahead of time. Rob, you are responsible and accountable for that. When do you want to provide that information to us that you have gone, you've checked, we're at a go? Can you give me a date on that? Can it be before we do our reminder email on the 6th?
I'm thinking I want the prep email will go out first. And then I'm thinking to do it after the prep email, because after the prep email goes out, hey, we have this fun activity plan. I do want to come back, or me and Chimaka to come back and say, we've assessed the venue, everything is in tip-top shape, XYZ. So maybe around the 2nd or 3rd week.
Okay. How about on the 4th? Would that work?
Yeah, I can work with the 4th.
Okay.
Cynthia, you agree?
I wanted to say why. So, is there a reason why we're separating the information? Because our second round of communication is going to be on the
6th.
On the 6th. So, can't we include it together in the message, or have it done on the 17th? So, since 17th is the last reminder, like last day for reminder, we could include in our communication that the venue is all set and we're all good to have our fun day on the 21st.
I tell you what, before we send out our initial email, in the case that Rob were to go out and come back and go, I do not know who signed a contract with these people. That place is a death trap. We cannot even tell everybody we're going to go there. Can I request that before we send out our initial communication on the 19th, that you do the check before then, Rob? Otherwise, we've told everybody we're going. They've taken they've blocked all the meetings off of the 21st. And then we come back 2 or 3 weeks later and go, fooled you, we're not really going. That was an April Fool's joke. So
I can work with that reasoning. Yes, I can work with that. Let's do it before the first communication, because you want to lock in that contract discussion, because even the venue might take some time for us to obtain any which way. So
right, they may have something that's under construction, and you say, okay, you've got to have that done for us to keep this contract, kind of thing.
I'm with it. So before the first communication goes out. Thank you for that, Cynthia. That's a good call.
Okay, and right before the event, you're going to go out and confirm, or are you going to go out on the 20th?
Do another check?
Do a second check to be sure it's still okay? Or do you not feel like that's necessary?
No, it's necessary. Let me do it the 19th then, just in case they say some. I'm just want to give him that extra day as a contingency, because what if they say something that I don't like? I know I go back and then, wait a minute, let me think about that for 24. We're going to have to consult the finance person to see.
Okay. So you're going to be informing our finance person.
Yes, if something were to happen. I'd say give me maybe do the 19th.
Okay, conditions acceptable or not is what you're going to be informing to our finance person. And let me put her email there, mar@co.com, so that we know exactly how to get there. You don't have to go figure it out. Okay, so both of those things are good. Let's see. Let's go back up here. Participants who choose this decision. Participants who choose to transport themselves will not be reimbursed or funded. It's okay if y'all don't all agree with this, but I do need to record your response. So, Amarachi, coming from finance, you've given us what the policies are, so we know that you agree on this. Rob, do you agree or disagree?
I agree on Karishma's check-in point. I agree there.
No, this one right here. Participants who choose to transport themselves will not be reimbursed or funded. That's what I'm asking.
Yes, I agree. I agree.
Okay. Karishma, are you good?
Yeah, I agree with that too. This
David?
doesn't make sense. We can't keep track of that.
Mm-hmm.
Nah, I
You don't
agree.
agree?
No, I agree. They should, if they're going there, they should.
Just look at Amarachi. You guys want to rob the company.
And Cynthia, do you agree with this?
Yeah, I agree because it's the responsibility of the person. So yeah.
Okay. So let's see. Communication is going to convey this. I think we've got everything there. I am going to note here that communication is going to be, I'm just going to put informed here. I realize this isn't a task, but whenever, Rob, you look down at what communication is supposed to do, I don't want you to miss this one. So I'm going to put this here. Let's see, communication is here, here, here. Okay. Typically, we would go on from the transportation and go on into food and games and what else. However, we're going to run out of time, and I really want you to see the end of this. In your own meetings, if you need to do this in 2 separate races, that's fine. But the end of it is really important. So I'm going to skip the rest of it, and we're going to pretend like we've finished all of our tasks and move into the end portion. So the next stage, let me move this real quick, is we're going to do meeting wrap up. It's stage 4 is what I'm talking about here. So at the end of this, we've gotten everything, and I'm going to start back at the top, and I'm going to say, okay, for communication, and I'm going to highlight this group of communication, and I'm going to say for communication, we're going to do 3 information out to the distribution list. Let's see, Rob, you're going to create and test the distribution list very quickly, and then we're going to send an initial communication out on the 19th of this month. Then the reminder email is going out on the 6th, and the final email is going out on 3/17 by end of day. And Rob, you're going to be accountable and responsible, and Cynthia, you're going to be responsible. Do you two feel like this is doable? Are you good with that?
I'm good. Cynthia, you good? I think we're good with that, with our communication plan so far.
Yeah, just one question. So Robbie mentioned something about for the second check-in with the venue. It said on the 19th. Is that correct?
Right.
Would you want to communicate that to the team, like you come for the second?
I think that's probably be done behind the scenes.
The same. Okay.
Very first one is going to really say, are we good with this? If it's good at the beginning, she's just going back for a final check. And I don't know that we need to let everybody know we had concerns. We wanted to be sure y'all were safe because we're going to wrap you all in bubble wrap. We don't need to tell them that part. We just want to say everything's good. And we'll take care of any concerns we have behind the scenes, unless it's a showstopper.
Okay, yeah, so I agree with what we have. 17th is our final day.
Okay. So what I've just done is I've gone through the first topic, and now I'm going to go into the second topic. The second topic is huge. Transportation. Let's see, David and Karishma, y'all are going to take care of all of the details of arranging the bus, identifying the route, finding the company. You're going to let Amarachi in finance have the contract after you're finished, and you're going to work with health and safety for the consulting of what you need, if you need wheelchair access and things like that. You're also going to work with Rob for communication. You're going to give Rob the location of departure, arrival time for departure. There's also this information down here, the checklist. The checklist plan is going to be communicated for communication. And then you're also going to work with, let's see, that's not y'all. Oh, yes, it is y'all. You're also going to work with Rob for the checklist plan for those driving themselves, so that can be put into the the information. We don't have a date on this. Those are driving themselves. Can we say it's the same date as
Same
this other?
thing. Yeah.
Okay.
We have the clarity of number of people on board and by themselves.
Right.
And there won't be any more changes after the second week, because then things gonna be very concrete and planned for the last 3 weeks. We don't want any new things come up with that.
No surprises. That's
No
our motto,
surprises.
no surprises. Okay, so David and Karishma, do y'all feel good about the transportation plan, the task that you've taken on? Can you get it done by these dates?
I believe so, it's doable. What's your thought, David?
Yeah.
Okay, very good. We've made lots of decisions here. The transportation company will, I'm going to clarify that. I just realized that's ambiguous. The transportation company, not the company. The transportation company will be responsible for loading and unloading people, supplies, and equipment such as food and games. The transportation company will be responsible for providing the standard list of medical supplies for the buses. Loading will begin 45 minutes before departure from each location. The transportation company will provide backup transportation if needed. Participants can choose to transport themselves, not ride the bus. Participants who choose to transport themselves will not be reimbursed or funded. And participants who choose to transport themselves will be responsible for arriving at the venue, but if they have issues, they can call the transportation coordinator. Okay? So now we've gone by chunks of the topics, and we've confirmed that y'all think that you can do that. Now we've got to go a different direction. I'm going to go up here and look at just Amarachi. Amarachi, you have agreed to these things. You're going to work with transportation, and you have a big load there, and you're also going to work with the venue, be informed about the conditions on the venue for the finance portion. Are you good with that?
Yeah, I am.
So see, what I'm doing is I'm saying this is the load you've taken on personally, not you and the other people in that project or that task, but you personally. This gives people a chance to say, you know, that's a lot, and I'm not sure I can take it on. Because guys, honestly, people like me who say, oh, you have a need, I'll help. I overcommit myself sometimes. Oh, have you noticed? I overcommit myself sometimes and have to struggle to get everything done. Don't do that to yourself, but also give people an opportunity to say, that's a lot. I mean, sometimes you might say, you've taken on 4 of the 6 things in this project. Maybe somebody else can take on 1 or 2 of those. You know, give them an out. That way it's not a pride issue. Okay, Rob, you have taken on leading communication. You've taken on communication for transportation and for the venue. You've taken on going to the venue twice to verify that it's in acceptable conditions. And you're also going to be providing information to finance. Are you good with all that?
I'm good. I'm good.
Okay, very good. Karishma, you're working with transportation for arranging the bus and identifying the route and checking in people and monitoring the bus performance and checking in people at the venue, and then having the document to keep track of people while they're at the venue. So if anything were to happen, we would know who was there.
Yes.
And then knowing who's supposed to get on the bus to leave. Are you good with all that?
Right. We consider like we are almost a team of 6 people, including myself and David, so we can coordinate and do this thing. Yes.
Okay.
Very good. Okay, David, you have agreed to do exactly those same things, except you are for those. Are you good with that?
Makes the dream work.
That's right. That's right.
We just onboarded 2 more coordinators from the bus company. So it's like the 4 people, 2 of us. So yeah, it can make things workable.
Very good. Okay, Cynthia, you have agreed to be responsible for communication. Let's see, and that's what your main focus is. Are you good with that?
Yeah, I'm good. I think I got the light part. Yeah.
Okay, very good. So I wanted to y'all know that this is the RACI that we've put together. Y'all have all put into it. What I'm going to do now is I'm going to take it and I'm going to post it, and I'll give you the link. I'll send it out to everyone that's involved or interested in this meeting, in this topic. Not to the general public, but the executives who want to know what we're doing and things like that. So everyone is going to see this. They're going to see what you agreed to. As you come up with resolutions to things, for instance, for arranging the bus, this column right here is our resolution column. Whenever you get that information, if you want to put a link to whatever document you have, so that the rest of the people that have access to this, it's a living document, they can go in and see what your answer is, what the result is. I would encourage you to keep that document in a place that you can manage it, but that this can link to it easily. We will be watching these dates, and so before at 2:26 by end of day, you should have a resolution in this column. This makes it really easy for you as a business analyst or the project manager to just kind of look at this column to see, are there any holes? These that are decisions we don't need to worry about. In fact, for some of these, I'm going to put in this decision, we don't need anything in this column. And that tells us it's not like, oh no, there's a blank. It's okay. We don't need anything in this column. Some of the decisions, they overlapped into that column, so I'm not worried about those so much. Okay. And then if you find that you're having any trouble accomplishing these tasks before we get to the due date, please reach out to me or someone else and get assistance on getting it done. Getting each of these done are like cogs in a gears, that they have to work together. If one of them doesn't work, we're all going to fall. So we want to make this the really best experience for our team that we can. We want the results of this to be fantastic. We want people to review it and go, this was the best one ever. And, we want those kind of reviews. Okay, that ends my talk about the RACI. Does anyone have any questions about the mechanics of this? We're going to go on to one more part.
I just have one question there, Thea.
Yes, yes, go ahead.
You can set we can have subsequent meetings using, so within this meeting, our scope was to determine communication transportation. We can have another RACI chart to determine food in a more specific detail, health and safety in a more specific detail. Okay, so after we've come out of this first meeting determining communication transportation, games and whatnot, we send out this meeting. Within that meeting invite, we also, maybe another email, we also let the participants know for the next meeting, we're going to talk about food specific. Okay.
That's perfect.
Got it.
The whole goal here is to make things where you don't have any questions. For instance, you know exactly who to email. You know exactly when it's going to be expected. There's no questions, but you also want to have no questions for the people that are watching this process. You want to give them confidence that we are doing it very well. We know what we're doing. We have a good plan to move forward in. And it also, honestly, gives transparency to this is what we're doing. And if someone sees something that we've missed, they can come tell us instead of we're in a black box and they can't see what we're doing and they just have to assume, which you know what that does. They have to assume that we're doing everything right. Sometimes they know things that we don't know. They know of conditions that we don't know. So give them the transparency of what you are doing so that they can say, you might want to look at this, or be aware of this, or you're doing a great job. I had no idea that, you could get so much detail in one document.
That sounds good. Thank you for that.
Okay. Now I'm going to move this aside and we're going to go a little bit deeper. Let's see. We talked about send out and post it. Follow up and update is the very, very last step. If you look at it as the meeting leader, if you look at it and you go, there's only a week until this deadline, and I haven't heard anything from them, and I know that they're really overloaded at work and maybe they're having personal, life things happening. You might reach out and say, I noticed that I haven't seen an update on that, and I know it's not due for a week. How are you doing on it? Do you need any help? Come alongside them and give them the opportunity to say, yeah, I'm really struggling. I'm not sure I'm going to be able to get it done. you're not taking over the responsibility and you're not managing them. You're coming alongside to be a friend and a helper. So that's just one way to be sure that it gets accomplished, and it gets accomplished well. But do it in a way that's respectful. Don't come across and say, hey, it looks like you're not getting your job done. I mean, that's not what you want to do, right? So come up to them and be a helper and be an encourager, and you're going to get much better results in your overall project. Okay, so let's talk about other kinds of RACIs. RACI has gone through a lot of evolutions because a lot of people use them in different ways. And it's just because we think differently than each other, and that's okay. But the whole idea about what I showed you, the RACI that I changed that worked best for me, is you can take any technique and tweak it and test it and see if it works better for you. These are other RACIs that I just did a search on Google. What other RACIs are available? So some of these add support. If your organization is, for instance, KPMG, they've got entire departments that are nothing but back-end support. They might want to have a special designation to say this person from this group is involved in this task. A RACI VS has a verifier role to ensure the task meets quality standards, and then a signatory role for final approval. You might not need that, but if you do need it, you can test it. Try it out. A RACI IO has an input role for those who provide information and an output role for those who receive the results. Again, if you don't need it, if one version works better for you than another version, use the version that works better. And then a DACI, driver approval contributor and informed, pretty much exactly what we were using, just different terminology. Whatever you use, it's critical that the people who are using, the people who are exposed to it, have the same understanding. That's why I like to print out this is what responsible means. These are the people who will do the work. Everyone has the same understanding, and so we speak the same language. If you're going to use one of these, you're going to have to create or find your definitions, educate everybody as to what the definitions are, and move forward. I would encourage, though, that if you present a new technique, you don't make a lot of changes quickly, because people will get change exhaustion. They get overwhelmed with changes and they will stop paying attention. Try something and try it for a good period of time. And if you have to make a tweak, make a little tweak after you've tried it for a good period of time with a good explanation to those who are influencers, those who make decisions. Give them a good explanation before you make the tweak of, I've been using this for a while and I've found this and I really have pondered what I can do to make it better, and I'd like to try this. I'd like your input. Get their backing, make the tweak, and then move forward. But don't change a lot of things quickly. Don't bring in every single one of these and confuse the world. So I want to move into communication. We're down to our last 9 minutes. David, do I have 9 minutes or do I have a little bit less?
You can continue. You can move on.
Okay. I want to talk about communication. I've got several talks about communication, but these are just highlights. Let's say this is you. This is how you receive communication. This is how you like to communicate. This is the way you think. This is your learning style, and it fits perfectly for you, okay? You need to be aware of what your learning style is and your communication style. You need to be aware of, do I think high level? Do I think down in the weeds? Do I think systematically and linearly? Do I think holistically and conceptually? You need to do your own analysis, because you're going to be speaking to people. They have different learning styles. They take different things. They need different things to be able to understand. And you have to provide what they need for them to understand. For instance, if you have someone who's very systematic and linear and detailed, and you have to go to them to present a project and get their buy-in, you cannot be talking high-level conceptual for them to understand and get their buy-in. You've got to speak their language. But to do that, you've got to figure out what your language is and figure out what their language is, and then define the gap and make those changes. A lot of it I like to use the Myers-Briggs indicator. Myers-Briggs type indicator is a test that I can send you a free link to take a test. It's like 30 questions or something like that. It's not super scientific. It just gets you to think about, how do I think? How do I make decisions? How do I perceive things? How do I get energy? There's so many good things about it. I'm not saying this is a perfect test. There are people that go, oh, that's witchcraft. That's voodoo. But if it gets you to analyze yourself and do your own analysis, don't just believe what it says about you. Do your own analysis. If it gets you to think about yourself and then go, you know what? I am, let's go to this one. I am a judger. I like to be organized and prepared. I like to make and stick to plans. I want to know what is planned. I know who's going to be involved. I want to see it lined out on a chart. And then you find somebody else who falls more into this category, and you can't say you're in a category, you're in a box, and that's the only way I'm going to treat you, because that changes, it morphs a little bit. But if you find someone who behaves in a way that makes you think that they are a perceiver, they like to keep their options open. They don't like to make decisions. In fact, they don't want to make commitments. They will say, I'll get back to you on that. They don't want to make commitments because they love the churning of, let's have the discussion of how we can get this done, and they don't want to be put into the box. Judgers, we love the box. It's wonderful. So figure out who you are and who they are is a really, really cool thing. I'm going to tell you, oh, stop it, David. I'm going to tell you that I'm giving a workshop on this to the Bluegrass chapter that's coming up. It's, I think, a 3 or 4 hour workshop. It's huge if anyone is interested in participating, because it's talking about crafting your communication based upon personality and appreciation, and if you're neurospicy or not, all kinds of good stuff in it. The next thing I want to be sure that you know about is we talk about languages of appreciation. This is a take on what used to be called the love languages. There's 5 love languages, and people express appreciation in one way, and they may receive appreciation in the same way or a different way. For instance, if I ask you, you've done a fantastic job for the company, and the company wants to show their appreciation to you, what can the company do? If I ask each of you that same question, you would probably have kind of different answers. And some of it, for instance, if the company had a pizza party every Friday for the team, that's going to be really important to some people. Other people, has no value. In fact, it may even feel kind of insulting because it doesn't meet their languages of appreciation. Oh, look, some of y'all know what your appreciation languages are. It's important that you know what your team's appreciation languages are, because the way you show appreciation needs to be the way they need it, not the way you want to give it. It doesn't matter how you want to give it. You need to ask them, how can I best show appreciation to you? And these are the 5 categories. Physical touch is hard to do whenever you're in a virtual world. You can do a fist bump, the little icon of emoji fist bump. You can do high five. You can give them, if I were there, I'd give you a big bear hug. You can do those things that give them the feeling of physical touch. The rest of them you can do in a virtual world. The book is awesome. If you're interested in learning more, I encourage you to check out Gary Chapman's work, The 5 Languages of Appreciation in the Workplace. You know that the number one reason people leave jobs is because they don't feel appreciated. If you want your team to build trust with each other, find out what their appreciation languages are, because it gives you a foundation to start with. Okay, next thing is this. This is called Maslow's hierarchy of needs. Maslow created this many, many years ago, and it's basically divided up into 2 sections. And again, because it's so long ago and many people have looked at it, people have like, oh, we've updated it and we've changed it. This is just a basic one, and it works pretty well for me. This part down here in the bottom, these are critical elements of physiological needs. You need air, you need water, shelter, sleep. You need personal security, employment, resources, health. You need love and belonging. You need friendship. You need family. You need sense of connection. Without these things, you cannot move up into this top part. And the top part is where you are creative. You are able to learn. You cannot learn if you don't have some of these things met. So I want you to be aware of that, because if people are concerned about layoffs, if they have a family member that's ill, if they are having money problems, if they have physical problems, all kinds. I mean, there's so many things that keep people down here. I call it living in the pits. If people are living in the pits, they cannot perform well. And so you have to be aware that people that are creative and learning are up at the top. People that are living in the pits cannot learn well. They cannot be creative, which is what most of our mind work is, right? So you need to be aware of where people are. Give them grace. And if this is you, give yourself grace. Okay, we have reached the end. If anyone has any questions, please feel free to reach out to me on LinkedIn. I'm happy to help. If you have questions about what I've provided here today, I'd love to talk about it, as you can tell. But I have so many other talks that are coming up, and I'd be glad to tell you about them. David, I'll turn it over to you.
Okay. Hey, can we show our appreciation to Thea? That's a powerful one. That's a robust, session. And I can see that we all had 1, 2, 3 things to say, contributes to the case study. Thank you so much, Thea. Thank you for that session. Right. All right. We've come to the end of the session. However, we have an important information to share with you. Amarachi, I will tell you to take that. Okay?
All right. Thank you, everybody. Thank you for joining. Thank you, Tia, for this amazing session. Okay, so everyone, we have another session coming up with Tia on the 21st, and it's for those who are considering taking a business analysis certification. So whether you're just starting or you're an experienced business analyst and you're thinking or considering taking a certification, then you should be part of the session coming on, because that's where Tia is going to be explaining the certifications and which one you should take depending on your level, and she's going to be explaining everything on there. And we'll also have people who have taken these certifications come on board and talk about their experiences and give tips and strategies on how to go about them. So if this is something you're interested in, we'll put out the information on our channels. You can also reach out to us for clarity or whatever it is you want. So yeah, that's that.
All right, just to buttress what she has said, you can also join our community. We have a community that for aspiring and professional business analysts. So if you want to be part of that, we have so many, options for you. We have different channels. You can check that out and see what we do there. Right. Then before we call it a day, I will say that we have the next session coming up next week, and we have an amazing speaker, an amazing expert as well. So just look out on our LinkedIn page, follow us on our Instagram page, and make sure you don't miss this session. Okay. Once again, Thea, thank you so very much. I enjoyed the case study. And
Very
I'm
good.
sure everyone on the call also enjoyed the case study. So we hope that when we call on you again, you're going to be here.
I'll be here. It's been
All right.
delightful. Thank you for having me. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you so much.
All right. So if you want to provide your
Thank you,
feedback
Sarah.
to
Thank you,
Tia,
everyone.
you can connect with her on LinkedIn. You can share your feedback. Also, in the community, we have our feedback survey that we're gonna roll out very soon, so we can share that with her as well. Then we have this on our YouTube page. If you missed any part of it, you can go to our YouTube page for a recap. And all that being said, thank you, everyone. See you next time, and enjoy the rest of the day.
Thank you. Bye.
Thank
Thanks,
All right,
bye.
everyone.
Good day.
Yes, bye.